You come in here tomorrow. And I told them that's the most resilient club I've ever been around. It's what they're all about. They're all about toughness and fighting and playing together, and that's what we need to do.
This is the closest to death we're ever going to get. So in a way, we should feel the most alive.
Do you really hate the New York Mets?
I do. I do.
Pitch. Swung on. There's number 21. Fastball punched in the air. Deep center field. Back it goes.
I signed here for a reason, to do everything I could to bring back a trophy to this town.
Castellanos. Deep to left. Just like that. The 3-2 on the way. Swung on. Line down the right field line. It's fair. Just inside the line.
We welcome you into the Phillies Sports Reports Phillies pregame show, brought to you by FOCO. Real fancy, the best gear. That's why FOCO will do you right. Make sure you check out FOCO. Sam, it is do or die time, and nobody feels good anywhere, so I hope that video made you feel a little bit.
Yeah, it definitely got me excited. Maybe I'll change my prediction for the game based off that video, but yeah, it's very, very nerve-wracking today. The Phillies have not been very good over the last, since I don't even know how many years it's been, but since 2009, they've lost their last 5 do-or-die games, elimination games, so that's not a good number coming into today, and I'm definitely feeling the nerves.
Yeah, I mean, you can't feel anything but nerves, honestly, with how the past 3 games, 4 games, the last, since July, has gone. So hopefully there's something there. Shout out to the guys who made that video. It's their names were under the video. So yeah, but a lot of nerves, a lot of scaries, and I mean you could definitely feel that way because the Mets have been playing their you-know-what off. And the Phillies offense has been absolutely horrible. They're in a horrible stretch. And I want to point out the 5 to 8 guys in this lineup: JT Realmuto, Alec Bohm, Brandon Marsh, Austin Hayes. They're combined 1 for 32 this postseason, Sam. You're getting very little from your top 4, except for a few nights ago. And now those guys right there, 1 for 32 in the remainder of your lineup. You're not going to win baseball games like that. And the Phillies obviously have not been.
No, I mean, this lineup is obviously built on that top 4 with Schwarber, Turner, Harper, and Castellanos, but they can't be relied on to carry the offense every single night, in and out of every game of this series. There's going to be games within a series, 5-game, 7-game series, where their top of the lineup is going to be cold, and you need that bottom of the lineup to kind of come through for you. I mean, if you just look across the other dugouts of the Mets, the bottom of their lineup guys have been getting it done. JD Martinez, Starling Marte, Jose Iglesias, Frankie Alvarez, who has been a down year hitting, has even gotten some hits for them so far this series. So, they're getting it done, and our role players are not. And that's definitely a big thing going forward today and then beyond, if that goes to Friday, if this Phillies postseason run continues, or even moving on to the 2025 season that needs to be looked at, is who do we have 5 through 9? Because right now it's not even close to good enough.
Certainly is. And if the season ends today, it will be a interesting offseason with some changes that the Phillies will hopefully have to make. So yeah, and then you look at those top few guys. I want to specifically look at that 6th inning. Schwarber and Turner both walk to lead off the inning. Bryce Harper gets first pitch in the zone, swings and misses at it. It was a little in and up. Second pitch is outside, swing and a miss. Third pitch is a slider, way out of the zone, and Harper chases his mind off for it. And it is a terrible, ugly swing and a horrible at bat. The Phillies I think, had one good at-bat yesterday, and it came from Kyle Schwarber, and it was the first at-bat of the game. After that, including Bryce Harper, I did not see a single good at-bat from anybody, and specifically that Harper at-bat. And also Alec Boehm, who saw, what, 5 pitches yesterday and 4 at-bats?
Since getting benched, he's had 6 at-bats and he's seen 8 pitches total. Which is, I mean, obviously that's nowhere close to good enough. And I think you said it, their approach yesterday was just horrible. I think Bryce, the biggest thing with him is that he feels the need to put on that Superman cape. And whenever this team is struggling, he feels like he has to be the guy that will kind of pull them through it. We saw him obviously able to do that in game 2 with that massive home run. It let everyone kind of breathe that big sigh of relief, and it got the offense going from there. But then when the offense is struggling and he has these opportunities, it's a blessing and a curse because he wants to make things happen. We want him to make things happen. He can make things happen, but that is going to lead to him being a little bit overexcited at the plate. But these other guys, there's just no excuse for them. At least Bryce has the moments and he has come through in this series. These other guys' approaches are just terrible. I mean, Austin Hayes, what a terrible trade that has been. I mean, going back to the deadline, Dave Dombrowski sat on his hands for a second straight year, didn't really add to this team at all. Obviously, Carlos Estevez has so far worked out a little bit, but besides that, Tanner Banks and Austin Hayes have been bad. Tanner Banks we haven't even seen so far. When you sit on your hands like that at a deadline, it obviously this doesn't affect how the player should be playing, but it kind of signals that maybe you don't believe in this team as much as you should. I mean, they needed to upgrade in the outfield. They had to do it. They didn't do it. Austin Hayes should not play these next few days. And the rest of these guys, their approaches are just, but it's the same thing, right? It's the same thing over and over again, year after year, where the downfall of this team is the offensive approaches where these guys are just up there. It doesn't even look like they have a plan. I heard Larry Anderson talk about that a lot, where he says these guys don't even go up to the plate with a plan. They just start swinging away. And you're not going to win many games like that.
How much are you putting that on manager Rob Thompson and hitting coach Kevin Long?
I think it has to go to both, but I also think it is who these players are at some point. I mean, I feel like, coaching in baseball especially, I do think that if the Phillies lose this series, even if they don't lose this series, I think they might be looking for a new hitting coach just because nothing has really changed. But some of these guys that are like that, they're more established players, but you look at Castellanos, obviously take the good with the bad with him, but his approach to the plate is really bad. But I think the younger guys is where you really have to put it on the hitting coach and the organization, because a lot of these younger guys, they did come up with the Phillies. I mean, Marsh did not, but he was still pretty young when we acquired him. Boom, Stott's the only one who really can work in a bat. Johan Rojas is swinging like he's going to hit one like Jesse Winker did yesterday into off the freaking Statue of Liberty, when he needs to just be laying bunts down, hitting singles. Trey Turner at times I feel like does it as well, where he should be the 320 hitter, but he wants to hit home, be a 25-30 home run guy. I think they all share blame in it. The players, the coaches, the hitting coaches. I think it's a pretty equal pie if you were to slice it up.
So in today's lineup, there are changes. Austin Hayes and Edmundo Sosa both started against the lefty. Phillies facing Jose Quintana, left-hander today. We'll get into him a little bit. Here is the Phillies starting lineup for Game 4. This is their do-or-die lineup. Leading off, designated hitter Kyle Schwarber. Batting second, Trey Turner. Bats short. Batting third, Bryce Harper at first. Batting fourth, right fielder Nick Castellanos. Batting fifth, third baseman Alec Boehm. Batting sixth, catcher JT Muto. Batting seventh, second baseman Bryson Stott. Batting eighth, left fielder Weston Wilson. And batting ninth in center field is Brandon Marsh. So you see Stott and Marsh both hitting against the lefty, which is very rare, but Topper's putting them out there. I don't disagree with it. And then you see Weston Wilson, who is starting in a do-or-die game, a much better option than Austin Hayes, don't get me wrong. But the guy has no playoff experience, and you're throwing him in New York against the Mets in Queens in a do or die game for, I don't know. I feel like yesterday could have been more of a day for Weston Wilson.
Yeah, it goes back to Dave Dombrowski. He's obviously done a great job as Phillies president of baseball ops, but the fact that you have Weston Wilson, no offense to him, but as a journeyman kind of minor leaguer starting as your starting left fielder in a do or die game is an organizational failure from that standpoint of not being able to upgrade the outfield. I mean, you even saw that the Phillies didn't have much faith in Johan Rojas when they sent him down at one point, and they had to pull him right back up because of injuries. But it's just no matter what happens, even if they win the World Series, they still need to upgrade this outfield next year. But I think something that at least is annoying, I guess you could say, from Rob Thompson is the fact that in a do or die situation against a left-hand pitcher, Brandon Marsh and Bryson Stott are getting the start today. I obviously agree with that because they are the two best players for that role. But what I don't agree with is that all season long, these guys weren't getting the opportunities to hit against left-handed pitching. Yes, they're not great against it, but they also weren't given a bunch of opportunities to do it. And then as soon as it's do or die situation against a left-handed pitcher, I would much rather have them have the experience of all year hitting against a left-handed pitcher in games. You go back to July, let's just say it's July 12th against the Chicago Cubs in a game that's not going to mean anything. They're pitching a left-handed pitcher, and you're sitting Brandon Marsh and you're sitting Bryson Stott. Now the biggest games come around, and these guys are playing against lefties. Meanwhile, they haven't been doing it all season long. So a lot of people went against Thompson back then saying that these guys need to be hitting against them because in the playoffs, you're going to want to play them against these players, and they're not going to have any experience doing it. And here we are, do or die situation. These guys haven't been doing it all year, and now they're going to be asked to do it in this game. So I think that's just one of many things this year from Thompson that have kind of frustrated me because he's kind of 1 foot in, 1 foot out. He gives guys days off because he doesn't think, he won't pitch hit guys because he wants full days off. They don't hit guys against lefties. They do this whole thing, and then in the playoffs, it all changes. So I don't know. It's definitely something that if Thompson, they do lose this series, the Phillies management should be looking back on as a knock against Thompson.
Certainly, there's been a lot of decisions this series that you could look at Topper. I mean, a lot of people blaming some of these games on Rob, which certainly shouldn't be, especially that game one where he went to his guys, but his guys just didn't come through. He's pulled levers, and a lot of those levers just haven't worked out, which is baseball. And Topper will be the first one to tell you that's just how it is.
Yeah, I think from this series, at least so far, I don't think it's been that bad from Thompson. I mean, the people wanting Wheeler to throw 130 pitches, I mean, game one of the series, you're up 1-0. You're thinking about the World Series. You're not thinking about, I need to get one more inning out of Wheeler here at 111 pitches. So I thought that criticism was kind of, unjustified, but I think a lot of the criticisms of a lot of the things throughout the season are definitely justified because, it could be the difference between some of these guys being ready to play for the postseason. I mean, you look at the Eagles team last year, and a lot of people wanted Nick Sirianni fired after that season when they started off 10-1 and then kind of collapsed. And while it hasn't been the exact same collapse in the second half of the season, if you look at the Phillies' first half or second half numbers, and then if they do get bounced in the first round and then going from World Series, NLCS, NLDS, kind of moving backwards, I think there's at least a conversation to be had there of, is he the right guy moving forward?
Kind of reminds you of the 09 to 11 stretch a little bit, moving backwards, except that team got a World Series. This team did not. Maybe they'll lose in the wild card next year. Hopefully not. By the way, looking back at Muto, Bohm, Marsh, and Hayes, who are combined 1 for 32, that one hit came off the bat of Alec Bohm yesterday. It was a shot into right center field. Bohm tried to stretch it out for second and was thrown out at second base, went back to the dugout, was crying in the dugout. Once I saw that, my mind immediately went to that he cannot play this game tomorrow, a.k.a. today, and he shouldn't be a Philly next year. What are your thoughts on this whole Alec Bohm situation.
Yeah, I was surprised when they originally benched him, but looking deeper into his numbers, I got it, because batting 170 over your last month, I mean, we all think Johan Rojas can hit, and he's been doing better than that, right? So you can't justify playing him from that standpoint. And we didn't know a lot, I guess, about the behind the scenes things. We see it a little bit with the temper tantrums and stuff like that. But at a certain point with Alec Bohm, you're going to have to make a decision. Do you want to pay this guy $150 million? Because with the numbers he's put up this last year, if that projects over the next few years where he gets out of arbitration, he gets into becoming a free agent, I don't know if he'll have as good of a season as he had this year. Maybe it won't be 150. Maybe I exaggerated a little bit, but you're going to have to think about at least giving him a contract extension. And if at 28, 29 years old, whatever he is right now, 27, he's still throwing these temper tantrums after it's obviously been a point of contention for the team. There was a story about how the team, has been looking at it and doesn't like it. So he's obviously been talked to before. He gets benched, comes back out, has terrible at bats, throwing more temper tantrums. I mean, is that a guy you want to extend? I don't know, especially with a prospect like Aiden Miller coming up. I mean, it is definitely a conversation we're going to have. I was surprised a little bit that he was in the lineup today. I think that because he actually made good contact and got the hit yesterday, I think that's why he's in there, especially going against a left-handed pitcher today. But if he throws another temper tantrum, just get him out of the game, because we're in desperation mode, and we need everybody to be on the same page. And if he's going to be in his own world and, crying on the bench or pouting or throwing his helmet or whatever, the Phillies don't need that energy out there.
But Sam, 97 RBIs, 45 doubles in the regular season. He was an all-star starter. You can't get rid of a guy like that. You can't bench a guy like that.
Yeah, I mean, if he's not producing, I don't know what to tell you. I mean, it was definitely a bold move. It's something that I didn't expect Topper to do. But if he's throwing temper tantrums, if his head is not there, then he's not going to be any good on the field. Obviously, he roped the ball yesterday, and hopefully that continues. But you need to be in the absolute best mindset in the playoffs, and if he's not, then you can't be on the field.
All right, Jose Quintana will start for the Mets today. He was great in NLDS Game 3, and his last outing against the Phillies on September 13th was also great. 7 innings pitched, 3 hits, no runs, no walks, and 4 strikeouts. And then you look back a little bit, and the Phillies had his number, but that was a whole different Phillies team back then. In June, he pitched 3 2/3 innings, allowed 6 hits, 3 runs, 2 walks, and struck out just 1. And then in May, 5 1/3, 4 hits, 3 runs, no walks, 4 Ks. But when you look at those other two in May and June, it's a whole different team. Both teams are completely different. I'm looking more at that September one where the Phillies struggled heavily against them.
Yeah, I mean, like you said, it's hard to even go back that far, because it seems like exactly like you said. I think you said it perfectly. They're like two different teams, both these teams. It's almost like they switched bodies or something. The Mets are wearing the Phillies jerseys. The Phillies are wearing the Mets jerseys, because they're playing completely differently than they did in the first half. And the thing that worries me the most about Quintana is just the fact, honestly, that he's a left-handed pitcher. The Phillies lineup is very strong suited to beat righties, with obviously Schwarber and Harper being those two guys up at the top. And then as you go down the lineup with Stott and Marsh, those guys, as we've seen, and like we talked about earlier, they're not great against left-handed pitching, and haven't really seen a lot of it so far this season either. So the fact that they're in the game today definitely makes me worried, because they just haven't seen a lot of lefties. I mean, they just don't get a lot of opportunities against lefties. Quintana's not somebody who's going to overpower you, but I mean, we saw it last week against the Brewers, over 6 innings with no runs. He was great in that game. He's able to really use location very well. And I mean, these Phillies hitters, we all know what the game plan is for the Mets. It's pitch around the edges and then throw the ball outside the strike zone and see if they'll chase. And Quintana's game plan is going to be absolutely no different today. And we just got to hope and pray that overnight the Phillies just change their whole mindset.
Yeah, you better hope so. And when you look at the Phillies pitchers, Matt Gelb said this on his podcast. I was listening to WIP yesterday. It was brought up that the Mets might have something on some of these guys. Like they were on Nola yesterday. The approach against Nola yesterday was to be aggressive, swing that first pitch. What Nola should have done is start pitching a little bit backwards, start throw the off-speed breaking balls early in the count, and then try to blast the fastball past them. But he was throwing that fastball early. Mets were seeing it. They had that approach. They knew what was coming. They hit it, and they've been killing the Phillies bullpen. Do you kind of agree with Matt Gelb that the Mets may have something on these Phillies pitchers?
Well, there was that whole thing going around after the Mets came back in that Game 3 against the Brewers that they had something on Devin Williams. So it wouldn't surprise me. I mean, these teams nowadays, I'm sure that in the playoffs they have some guy that just looks at every single pitch that these guys have thrown over the last, 6 starts or whatever, and sees if there's any little tiny thing that they can pick up on. But I think the biggest thing is just familiarity when you play these teams in the playoffs. I mean, going up against division rivals, we've seen it obviously on the other end so far with how this series has gone. But last year with us and the Braves, at a certain point, you just know what these teams are going to do. You know how they work. You know how these pitchers like to work. You know how these hitters, where their holes are in their swings, where their hot zones are, where their cold zones are. At a certain point after playing these teams, it used to be 18 times. I guess it's 12 now in a season. But even over the last few years, you just are so familiar with these teams. And I think it's more of that than it is that they have something on the Phillies pitchers. But I think the Phillies pitchers also just haven't been that great. I mean, you've seen some of these guys, even, obviously Wheeler had a great result, but he was kind of all over the place. He didn't have his complete control as much as you would have wanted. We saw it obviously with some of these relief pitchers where they're leaving the ball a little bit too much in the middle of the zone. So I think it's a little bit of combination of the both of these guys just aren't as sharp right now as they need to be, and the fact that they've played each other so many times.
You kind of answered Steve's question here. He said, have the Mets, do they have something, or has the bullpen just been below them? It's both. I mean, obviously the bullpen hasn't been great. I mean, I think yesterday, a big thing with Jose Alvarado, he got hit in the foot on that comebacker, got 2 quick outs, and then kind of loaded the bases. Ryan Kirkling's been thrown in 2 really tough situations that are difficult to get out of. But outside of that, I mean, these guys just haven't been sharp.
Yeah, I mean, you look at Kirkling in Game 2, he was perfect through the first 2 batters, struck them both out, was completely nasty. You're saying to yourself, oh, wow, we got Kirkling back, knock some of the rust off from being off. And, we're not going to use the off days as an excuse because we wouldn't allow the Braves to use it as an excuse. But I think some of the people that are affected the most by it are the pitchers. Their stuff's not going to be as sharp. Their location's not going to be as sharp. And then you see with Kirkling there, he just left the fastball over the middle of the plate to Nimmo. I mean, there's not many hitters in the MLB that if you leave a fastball over the middle of the plate, they're not going to drive it, whether it's a single, double, home run. But he just missed the spot. And I mean, you saw some of the things with Matt Strahm as well, leaving some stuff over the middle of the plate. So I think it's a lot of just them not being as crisp and not having their location, because the Mets, they're definitely taking advantage of it.
They sure are. Starting for the Phillies today is Ranger Suarez. Hasn't pitched in quite a while, and it's been rough the last few times. His last 7 starts, he has a 5.74 ERA. He has a 6+ ERA in the month of September.
Yeah.
But in the postseason, 33.1 innings, 22 hits, 6 earned runs, 8 walks, 32 strikeouts, and a 1.62 ERA with a 0.9 whip. Ranger Suarez is like the best playoff pitcher ever. Are you expecting to see that Ranger? Or are we going to get the Ranger that we have seen since July?
Yeah, I'm nervous for Rangers start today. I mean, I wrote in my notes that he was good in the scrimmage game, ... Who cares? Because we've heard a lot about that he was great in the scrimmage game, but I don't put any stock into that. I put more stock into what he's done over the last half of the season. I mean, the biggest thing with Ranger, though, that it would give me some hope is that he has had so many days off, like you said. I mean, pitching with a back injury is just got to be so tough, and he's not somebody already that overpowers you. And then there was some talk about maybe he had some dead arm in there. I mean, he's been going through it this year. One of the biggest things that they talked about going back to the spring training was that he was actually able to get into the United States early and be able to make spring training on time for the first time in his career. So he's not used to throwing these many innings. I mean, he's thrown by far the most innings in his career, and we've seen the effects on him down the stretch. But having that much time off could be a positive for him as long as he has his command, because he's, we all know Ranger. We all know that he's not somebody that's going to overpower you. He's working the corners. If he's spotting that fastball right in that bottom left-hand corner in inning one, I think we can all kind of breathe a sigh of relief, But as it goes on, he's going to need to stay sharp. I don't think he's going to go very deep today. I mean, his over-under in innings is like 4.5 or 4 1/3, according to some of the sports books out there. So could be a short start for Ranger, but I don't know where I stand. I'm nervous, but at the same time, I feel like he could go out there and pitch well. We know he's got ice in his veins. As they always say, he doesn't have a heartbeat. So this is one of those ones where I don't know how to read what I think Ranger's going to go out there and do today.
Yeah, I feel like a lot of us were very confident in Aaron Nola yesterday. Today,
Yeah,
you really don't know what you're going to get. Rangers' last start on September 27th in Washington. He pitched 2 innings, allowed 7 hits, 6 runs, 2 walks, and 2 strikeouts. Not ideal.
No, that is not how you want to enter the playoffs.
No, against the Mets on September 21st, he threw 5 innings, allowed 5 hits, 2 runs, 3 walks, and 4 strikeouts. Not horrible.
No.
Not terrible. All right, here's the Mets lineup for Game 4. It's kind of the same that they've been going with. Francisco Lindor leading off at short. Mark Vientos batting second at third. Brandon Nimmo in left. Pete Alonso at first. Jose Iglesias bats fifth, playing second. DH JD Martinez is fifth. Sixth, Starling Marte in right. Seventh is Marte. Eighth is Tyrone Taylor in center. And batting ninth is Francisco Alvarez, the catcher. So kind of the same thing for the Mets. It's been working. Don't change what ain't broken, I think is the thing. So
if it ain't broke, don't fix it.
If it ain't broke, don't fix it. Everybody is available out of the bullpen, except obviously Nola for the Phillies today. Christopher Sanchez will be available to come out of the bullpen. Wheeler is available only in an emergency situation. They are looking to save Wheeler for a possible Game 5, which will be Friday night. Who are you looking for tonight?
Do you think they should have started Wheeler today? That was a big debate.
You can't go back on it after telling Ranger that he should have started, but the Phillies did, I think, jump the gun, and they should have waited for Game 3's result to see who was pitching today. But they did the same thing with Game 2. If you really wanted to win there, you could have started Nola at home, and you are definitely, hopefully, have a better chance of going up or tying that series. Where Sanchez, you never really know what you're going to get in a guy's first playoff start. He was good though. So I would have liked Wheeler, and I would have been fine with Sanchi at home or even Ranger. You can piggyback Ranger and Sanchez at home. I don't hate that, but you told Ranger he's starting on Wednesdays, so you gotta keep to it.
Yeah, it's so tough. If Wheeler felt okay, I would have liked a Wheeler Ranger piggyback today. Maybe get the first 3 from Wheeler, maybe try to go out there and take a lead and then let Ranger kind of take over from there. I mean, I don't know. It's definitely a really tough decision to make. It all obviously depends on how Wheeler's arm's feeling, but my biggest thing is that there's no Game 5 unless you win Game 4. So you got to do whatever you got to do to win Game 4, and then you figure out Game 5 if it gets here. So, I mean, hopefully, I don't want to see Ruiz in this game today. I don't want to see Kirkering in this game today. Like, you got to go all out on this game today. And so back to your original question. I mean, have we seen Hoffman? I don't think. Did he pitch yesterday? I don't think he did.
No, he has not pitched since game 1.
Yeah, that goes back to what you were saying about them possibly having something on him. It wasn't said, but it was implied that he was the guy that they might have had something on. I would definitely go back to him today. Strom, you gotta trust him. As much as he has let you down so far, I don't think he's the Craig Kimbrell of this year's playoffs. But because he's better than Kimbrell was at this point last year. But Hoffman, Estevez, and Strom got to be the guys today. You got to hope Ranger gives you 4 at least, because if he gives you anything less than that, I mean, you're going to Sanchez. They talked about how he's not going to be throwing his bullpen today, his normal bullpen, because he's ready to go in the game if needed for about 2 innings. So hopefully we don't need to do that, and he'll be thrown when he gets home back to Philly tonight for his bullpen session. But yeah, I think you just gotta trust your guys and rely on your all-stars. And if they let you down again, they let you down again.
Yeah, but I mean, that only plan really works if you can get some runs on the board. And the Phillies have 1 run before the 6th inning this series, and it came on the 3rd pitch of the series. But anyway, we need to move on into our SeatGeek Standout Stars. SeatGeek is the easiest, most efficient way to buy your tickets. Each seat is given a green, red, or yellow dot indicating whether purchasing that ticket would be a good, bad, or fair deal. By using the code Philly Sports Report, save $20 off your first SeatGeek purchase. PHILLYSPORTSREPORT for $20 off your first SeatGeek purchase. Tickets available for Game 5. If you want to jump on it, go over to SeatGeek and use the code, because maybe we'll be coming back to Philadelphia. Who knows? Who is your SeatGeek star or SeatGeek Standout Star that you're thinking about today?
Yeah, I hate to do it, and this is going to go into my prediction later for the game, but I think Mark Vientos is going to be the star of this game. He has just been fantastic so far in this series. Obviously has a few home runs. Coming up as a rookie and doing what he did, 27 home runs in just about 100 games. He has been everything the Mets could have asked for and more. I mean, as someone who didn't even make their opening day roster to put up the kind of numbers he has. Obviously, he matches left-handed pitching. Ranger is a little bit rusty coming out. It hasn't pitched well since about June, so I'm nervous about that. I think Vientos is going to pop one today, and I think he's going to be the star of the game.
That is your SeatGeek Standout Star. Thank you to SeatGeek for sponsoring the Gamblers R Us lock of the game. Gamblers R Us. You know who they are. They're the best gambling podcast for Philly Sports Reports. They're on the YouTube. They're on the podcast apps. Go check them out. Sam, what are your locks for today's game?
Yeah, some things I was looking at. The over-under for this game is 7.5. I was going just barely over. The pitching stats for the Phillies, at least, are going to be using a lot of bullpens, as we talked about. So I think that the runs could get a little bit high. Nothing crazy, but I like over that 7.5 number. The Mets are actually underdogs in this game. This is going to give away my prediction, but I like the Mets on the money line today. Vientos, who's my SeatGeek standout star of the game, so we'll take him for a home run. Ranger is put at 4 1/3 innings as his over-under. I would say under that. I don't think he's going to get to 5. I think he's going to be pulled right around that 4-inning mark. So if you use a sports book that allows you to bet that, it's not a bad one.
Thank you to Gamblers R Us. Make sure you go check them out. And as we wrap up, it's 4:50. Game is close to starting. The Sam Heine and Ben Goldstein. I'm going to participate in this one as well. Foco Fit Check. Real fancy, the best gear. That's why Foco makes legendary gear for the most legendary fans. Click on the link in the description or the bio to save. We're both rocking some Foco today. We both got our overalls on. The little I'll get up. Got the fills. This is where Stubbs puts his beer. I don't have any of that, obviously. So yeah, thank you to SeatGeek for setting the season. I'm trying to reverse jinx today. I wore these, if the people that are watching remember, game 6 and 7 of the NLCS, I wore these last year. Didn't work.
You're playing a dangerous game.
We got it. The Phillies need to pull a rabbit out of a hat today. Let's be honest here. So I'm going to do my part and try and do a little bit of a reverse jinx, a little bit of the 1-2, if you know what I'm saying. You need something.
I wore these for game 2. The Phillies obviously won. I was at work yesterday, so I'm not going to be wearing my work outfit for the game today. So, hopefully that will bring us a little bit better luck. And, if it goes to game 5, no better thing to wear than some Foco overalls to the game. I mean, like you said, they got the beer pouch in the front, pockets on the side. You might need the long pants ones like you got. I don't know if the short ones are going to be great for October in Philly, but they're definitely nice.
Yeah, they sure are. Make sure you go get a pair. Save with Foco, 10% off any order. All right. There's a lot of keys if the Phillies want to win this game, like a ton. They've kind of been the same all series. The Phillies haven't been listening to us, but maybe they're listening today. What are your keys?
Yeah, everyone pretty much knows the keys to the game, but something that I've been thinking about a lot is that it actually goes with something you just said about how they have only one run before the 6th inning. They need to get out to a lead today. The Mets crowd is going to be up. They're going to be ready. They're going to be excited. They have a chance to go to the NLCS today. Team in the beginning of the season, after last year at the deadline, trading off some big name pieces. While I disagree that they are a underdog because they have the highest payroll in all of Major League Baseball by a large margin, by the way, they were not expecting to make the playoffs or not even close to make the NLCS. So their fans are going to be ready and excited. Obviously, Grimace and OMG is going to be going throughout the stadium. So the Phillies need to come out first inning, take a lead. It doesn't have to be the first inning, but in the beginning of the game, get a lead. Get a lead, add on to it, but at least try to get a lead. Let Ranger settle down a little bit before even hitting the mound. Give him something to work with. They haven't done it all series, except for game 1, obviously, but a 1-0 lead is, it obviously didn't hold. Get a real lead, 2, 3, 4 runs like the Mets have been doing, and get out and just let everyone in Philadelphia and everyone on the bench just breathe that sigh of relief. And then number 2, play small ball. Last night, I thought we didn't get to it, but one of the biggest things that I thought killed them and lost in that game was Johan Rojas not getting a bunt down when there's a man on first with no outs. If Johan Rojas cannot get a bunt down, he should not be in the lineup. Obviously, he's not in the lineup tonight. And the fact that they don't trust him enough to, give him the chance to bunt, I don't get it. It doesn't make any sense. But the Phillies need to play more small ball today. Stop trying for the home run. Singles, doubles, Bryson Stott, another triple. Please get guys on, move them over, get them in. I don't know why the Phillies have gone away from this model of playing. They haven't had a ton of base runners, but if you have somebody on, you have somebody at the bottom of the order up, get them over and let your big guys get them in. The Phillies need to definitely play some more small ball today, and I think that if they follow those 2 things, they can come back to Philly for game 5.
I actually have a key today, and we mentioned it earlier, and it's been my biggest thing. Have good at bats. Don't swing at the first pitch every single time because it's not going to go well. We've seen it happen so many times. We literally saw it happen yesterday. You had one good at bat yesterday. Don't chase. Take a pitch or 2. It's not going to kill you. And this Mets bullpen is not good, but the Phillies haven't gotten to it yet. So the Phillies can expose the Mets bullpen today. They have a chance to go out and win a ball game. But if they want to do that, they need to get to the Mets bullpen. And by doing that, they need to, have some discipline against Jose Quintana. And they're not going to throw you strikes because all you guys do is swing at pitches out of the zone. So
I think
take pitches, have good at bats. That's my key.
Yeah, what you're saying is so true. I mean, the fact that Minaya was able to make it that deep with as little pitches as he was throwing is crazy. I mean, the most pitches were seen by Kyle Schwarber. Everyone else, I don't think, saw even close to as many as he did. I don't remember if it was last game or game 2. It was one of them where, in Little League, they always teach you if a new pitcher comes in, don't swing at the first pitch. Let them throw you a strike. And these guys, new pitcher comes in and they're swinging away. They don't even let them. And most of the time they're balls. These guys aren't even ready to throw yet, and they're swinging at balls. I mean, they need to have a better approach at the plate. They need to work the counts, like you said, get into the bullpen, run Katana out of this game early, take advantage of the strikes he throws you, and be okay with a walk. I don't know why these Phillies players are not okay taking a walk. Did you know that Austin Hayes has not walked since joining the Phillies? He has 0 walks since joining the Phillies at the trade deadline. That is unreal. And I heard that on the radio today, and I thought that they were just joking. He has 0 walks since joining the Phillies. Be okay taking a walk. You need runners on the base pass. We've seen that they can create havoc on the base pass in game 2. All of a sudden in game 2, they start stealing bags. Alvarez can't throw anybody out. We need to do the same thing again.
Yeah, it is true. I saw that on somewhere last night. I was like, that's ridiculous. My biggest thing with Hayes last night is when JT got plunked in the arm, Austin Hayes swung at the first pitch and grounded out. Like, after the guy gets plunked, why are you swinging at the next pitch? It's like actually crazy. Sean Manaea, 7 innings yesterday, 91 pitches.
It's stuff they teach you in Little League. I mean, it goes right back to you. And what's sad about it, and what's the most frustrating thing about it too, is it's not just Hayes. It's Bryce Harper. It's Bryce Harper. He walks 2 straight batters, and you swing at 3. The next 6 pitches are swung at. What are we like? Oh my God! If you couldn't tell, that made me want to punch a wall yesterday. Ridiculous.
Well, hopefully we're not punching anything today. Punching a plane ticket back to, or a train ticket, I guess, or a bus ticket back to Philadelphia for Game 5. It is time for our game prediction. Put your predictions in the chat. Sam, is this the day the music dies for the 2024 National League East champions?
It's crazy going into the series. The Phillies obviously won the division, but ever since the All-Star break, the Mets have played like the better team. And so far in the series, they look, they act, and they feel. They look, act, feel, and play like the better team. And unfortunately, I think they are the better team. I think the Mets are going to put an end to this Phillies season today. I think the Mets are going to win this game 5-3. And unfortunately, I think we're going to be one of those division winners that gets clipped early.
Kind of feel like the Braves and Dodgers right now. Or the Sixers, if you want to keep it in city. A lot of debate about that. I also think the Phillies lose this game. It's just the writing on the wall is there. Just nothing positive going for this team right now. You hope you get something out of Ranger today, but if you don't, you might as well just turn the TV off. I think the Phillies lose this game 4-1. I think they get 1 run today. I think it comes in the 4th inning. They get their first run before the 6th inning all series. But it's just 1, and they don't get anything after that. So Phillies, I have them losing 4-1 today, ending their season.
Before we end all doom and gloom, I want to say that, if we were an Arizona Diamondbacks fan base last year in the NLCS with how bad they had played going into games 6 and 7 in Philadelphia, we would have had no hope that they would win both games in Philadelphia to move on to the World Series. So while me and you obviously don't feel great, it can be done. Worse has been done. Harder has been done. So, they're definitely not out of it, but it's going to take a lot to pull them through this series. That is for sure.
Well, Sam, you just pulled me back in. Look, Jake Severe has some severe messages in the chat. It just doesn't feel like this team has the dog in them like they did in 22-23. Feels like for the most part, when we get down, everyone starts overcompensating and can't hit it at all. It's just kind of team thing.
Yeah, I think that even goes back to 22 and 23. One thing that's been talked about as a little bit of a thing, but not really until this series, is that this Phillies team is kind of front runners. When things are going well, they're obviously going well, but when they're behind, they don't really battle back. I mean, we saw it last year. And another thing is that they don't handle pressure very well. I mean, when every time that they've been the favorite, they've collapsed. 2022, they take a lead on the Astros in the World Series. They're the favorites to win the World Series. They collapse. 2023, they take a massive lead on the Diamondbacks. They're the favorites to make the World Series, possibly even the favorites to win the World Series, if I'm remembering correctly. They collapse. This year again, big favorites against the Mets, division winners, second favorite to win the World Series. They're collapsing again. And, at a certain point, you have to look at it as a trend, as this team doesn't handle being the favorite well. And I think that definitely can be part of that,
Yeah, it sure is. Here's another comment from Jake. That's just kind of how the Phillies have been going the last few years. And
yeah,
you may get a installment number 3 of that coming up this year. We hope to see you again on Friday, either in the afternoon or Friday night. Sam and I don't think so. So if this is it, we want to thank Foco for everything this season. We want to thank all of you guys for everything this season. That's going to do it for us here today. Nobody feels good, but I feel like when we don't feel good things happen. So we'll see what happens. Phillies Mets coming up on FS1. Thank you to our sponsors, SeatGeek and Foco, for sponsoring the show and their respected things that they have on here. Check out PhillySportSports.com postgame for my game summary, and follow us on all social medias. Like and subscribe as well. Bellwingers episode will be coming out tonight or tomorrow. We'll see when it happens. Colin and I are recording tonight. Sam, hopefully I'll see you soon. Go Phillies.
Hopefully we talk again on Friday.
Hopefully. I'm going to play that video again so we can hopefully get some kind of hype on this stream. See you guys. Thank you.
Go Phil.
You come in here tomorrow. I told them that's the most resilient club I've ever been around. It's what they're all about. They're all about toughness and fighting and playing together, and that's what we need to do.
This is the closest to death we're ever going to get. So in a way, we should feel the most alive.
Do you really hate the New York Mets?
I do. I do.
Pitch. Swung on. There's number 21. Fastball punched in the air. Deep center field. Back it goes.
I signed here for a reason, to do everything I could to bring back a trophy to this town.
Castellanos, deep to left, just like that. The 3-2 on the way, swung on, line down the right field line.